Good evening. Good evening, good evening, good evening. My name is Melanie Campbell. I'm President and CEO of the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation and National Convener of the Black Women's Roundtable. And it is my pleasure to welcome you for our Wealth Builder Series, session number two. With the topic is understanding business, startup basics, and how to get money for your business. So thank you all for joining us today. The other part of my title, I forgot to say, is I'm also co-founder of the National Coalition's Thomas W. Deutsch Jr. Institute at Clark Atlanta University. Since the Black Women's Roundtable inception, um, we have worked to promote economic security and prosperity as key elements of success for Black women. The Wealth Builder series is part of our digital equity, connectivity, and women's economic empowerment project supported by Goldman Sachs. This project is housed at the Institute that is anchored at Clark Atlanta University in Atlanta, Georgia. The Black Women's Roundtable, along with our institute, have a common goal of advancing economic empowerment and social justice for Black people and underserved people. The purpose of the series is to provide job seekers with skills for career transition and advancement, and aspiring and established business owners with tools to help you with to start, or excuse me, and grow your business. It is our hope that the information provided by tonight's experts and the experts throughout the series that will take place throughout the month of November, the rest of November, will serve as a guide to help you build wealth for you and your families, even in the midst of current challenges to our community's financial stability caused by many things, including the federal government furloughs and government and corporate layoffs that we're experiencing across the country. And now it is my pleasure to turn the program over to Janice Mathis, our director of the National Coalition's Thomas W. Deutsch Jr. Institute, anchored at Clark Atlanta University, to greet you from the Institute, from the big, big city of Atlanta. Janice, turn it over to you.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Wealth Builder series. I can't think of any topic that would be any more pertinent or useful to our members and our allies at a time such as this than to think seriously and to receive expert counsel on how to replace lost income, how to make ends meet when we're not sure when the next paycheck is going to arrive, and of course, how to pursue that dream of business ownership and being an entrepreneur at a time when resources seem to be constrained. But let me just say this, that in times such as these is when we're called on to really dig deep and assess for ourselves, what are my talents? What are my skills? What am I passionate about? That's what this Wealth Builder series is all about. And I'm glad that Jocelyn and Melanie and all of the staff at NCBCP have thought seriously about this and think, what is it that you need if you're going to start a business? Yes, you need a great idea. You need a marketing plan. You need a feasibility study, but you also need some cash. You need some savings. You need some capital. So we have all that here for you and more. And if you've attended one of these webinars, I hope you will be encouraged to attend them all, because together they make up a package of information that will serve you well, whether you determine to go into business, whether you're already in business and want to expand, or whether you're just counting the days until you go back to your federal employment. So welcome, everyone. It's my pleasure to welcome you and turn it over to Jocelyn, who is really the author and finisher of this series.
Well, hello. Thank you so much, Janice. And I want to thank everybody for joining. And I want to thank specifically our guest experts tonight. And let me introduce you to them and get out of the way so that they can give you the expert information that they have to offer you here tonight. First, you'll hear from Cynthia Rhodes Porter. She is the founder of Rhodes Porter Group, where she develops and leads the execution of business development plans for businesses, and she leads training programs to improve opportunities for small businesses to be eligible for public-private partnerships and government contracts. She is the creator of the Business Box, which she dubs the Rhodes Porter Effect, which is a method of transforming your vision into a fundable business plan. And after we hear from Miss Rhodes Porter, we're going to hear from Dominic Wallace. Dominic is an individual who passionately grows resources, whose passion, lies in growing resources to provide funding to see your business dreams come to full fruition. He calls himself a financial savior. He grows small businesses by granting them the ability to build their own island to stand on. The organization he founded, which is the Wallace Capital Funding Group, allows people to grow their businesses. He uses his platform to provide funding alternative to small business startups and help existing businesses grow their businesses. He is an Amazon best-selling author of The $1 Million Story, a book about 10 incredible entrepreneurs who hit rock bottom but managed to turn it around and make their businesses a big profit. So we are looking forward to hearing what Mr. Wallace has to share with us tonight about how to get funding and money for your business, because we know we all want to hear about where's the money. So I'm going to turn it over now to Ms. Rhodes Porter to start the presentation. And after that, we will hear from Mr. Wallace. Ms. Rhodes Porter, the floor is yours.
Great day. Let me get my slides up. I am so excited about being here today with you all. I really want to thank Ms. Tate for inviting me to share a little bit about what we call at Rhodes Porter the Business Box. It is all about entrepreneurship and small business ownership at a higher level. So let me first share this with you. A lot about me. I work with those who like to make, create, and innovate. I sit on several boards with whether that's the three chamber boards. I'm also on the board for proposal management professionals. I'm also on the board for SCORE, the SBA business mentorship, where I lead the strategic planning efforts with people and culture, as well as process development and contracting. It is my background. All I do every day, all day, is find ways to create revenue strategies and process execution. So yes, it is great to attract capital, as we say at Rhodes Porter. Let me start by also asking you to, in the chat, put in what you're looking to get out of this this talk today. I want you to be able to put your questions in. Let us know how we can actually help you. Make this as interactive as possible. We'll talk about starting a business, but not from what people actually tell you. The marketing is usually a hype. It's come from, these department heads and employees. No offense to Clark Atlanta University. Well, I'm just saying that there's an overview that they give you that on a business owner and entrepreneurship level, they can't understand, only because of the fact of Um, you're bootstrapping, you're in what we call survival mode. So that's where I'm going to take you. I've taken our business from 0 to over $15 million. Could it have been higher? Yes, it could have. But when you understand your why, you know how much risk you're willing to take and how much you can't. Why is that important to me? I'm a mother. I'm a mother of 5, a grandmother of 7. And when I tell you risk is not something I can tolerate, that's what it is. So first, business is a game. It's up to you to play to win. And how do you win in a game, whether that's video games, football, board games, or whatever? That's going to be understanding the rules first. Then in this world of business is how do you actually make profit? Because that's what we're going to look for. You want to buy a house and you're an entrepreneur or you're a business owner, guess what? There has to be some type of profit, or there has to be some type of way that you can squeeze those margins for you to get a salary in order for you to live. What most people won't tell you is that most businesses, they are not even in the position to actually do that. They can't win because they're still in survival mode. Remember, I just told you I'm a mother of 5 and a grandmother of 7. And understanding survival mode, I still have to provide the food, the shelter. I have to have transportation, all of these things that you are going to need even while growing and starting your business. But then at the same time, we're talking about, hey, well, where's the money? How do I even access it? How do I attract it? You're not going to really attract too much without skin in the game. So that house that you have, are you willing to risk? The money that you have in your 401ks, are you willing to risk that? And that allows us to understand the tolerance. Now, if you are a student, a younger student, like my 2 younger ones, they're 21 and 19, and I'm gonna tell you, they're still under the parental purse. So yes, quasi in an area to where they can almost be at that self-actualization, meaning they can take high levels of risk because I'm going to invest in them. I'm willing to take certain risks for them. If we think about Bill Gates and we think about who is it? What's the other guy? Steve Jobs. And you think about how they always talk about they started the business in their garage. Well, guess what? They weren't thinking about survival because they were in their parents' home. They were thinking about they had a network already built in order for them to create what they had. So you'll hear me kind of mention them all together, but you have to understand what area or what amount of risk can you take so that you can scale your business. So at Rhodes Porter, we talk business in numbers. Numbers are validated in words. Most time when people chat GPT nowadays, their business plans to me, one of the things I have to tell them is, yes, there's a whole bunch of words, but you don't have enough numbers. Let's get past the rhetoric. I want to help you with getting past rhetoric. Right now, we're getting ready to move into Small Business Week and shop local. 34 million small businesses across the United States. And small businesses is the cornerstone of employment and whatnot. But 28 million of those have no employees. That means that they're widget resellers, they're influencers, they're gig workers, they're contractors. And when I say contractors, they could be gig 1099 workers on a longer term with an employer, or they can be a developer or a real estate person who's fixing and flipping that creates an entity for just a project only. Even in our large development, that's what we would do. We create an entity, public-private partnership, and then once that is done, it's over, we dissolve, and that's it. So now let's take that 34 million again, and we see 6 million are actual employers, but let's half that in. 49% have less than 4 employees. That's including a mother, I mean, not a mother, but a husband and wife team. If you know this picture, you know. That's all I'm going to say. And when you look beyond the numbers and see what's actually happening, if we look at Georgia even closer, 1.3 million small businesses in Georgia. Almost 200,000 are employers. But then 50% close within 5 years, and that's across the nation. And we have to say closed. We can't say, failed or whatnot. And a lot of people like to say that. But 50% actually closed, whether that's an exit with mergers and acquisitions, like I like, or the roll ups, meaning they were actually bought as a conglomerate in an industry, or even something that just, hey, I like that business. Let me add you to our business. So there's a many different reasons, and not forget where I said that we have one project and then we close after a certain amount of time. So you have to put these numbers in perspective. Yes, there's a lot of small businesses, but when you start thinking about what does my business look like and what am I comparing my business to is even more important. This is how we actually get to talk business in numbers. So what most people will tell you is this is the business startup, but it's not. It is what we call the framework, the business box. It is how you set up the certification of to classify you in what industry you're in, how we plan to tax you, where you can be located for zoning, all of these things. Business name, bank account, where you're going to, move your transactions, the business license to say that you are going to make money within a certain area, and then of course websites, and maybe a brick and mortar, but definitely some type of e-commerce. But remember, I told you about that 34 million small businesses. That's defined really straight off as a business. Soon as you create that EIN number, whether you are you're going to be an employer or you are just going to be standalone without any employees. Once that's created, the government is already forecasting what kind of revenue you plan or what bucket you plan to be in. So this is where you literally certify. That's what the business box is about. Change your mindset. Let's not think about our business as, this entity. I'm big. Let's think of it as a box. You've just gotten this empty box right there. That's what most people literally have. They have a U-Haul box with nothing in it. And this is just a compliance to say, this is where this box is. If I gave you a grant right now for $10,000, which sometimes some of the chambers and even with SCORE that I work with, they actually have these pitch competitions and they say, I'm going to give you $10,000 to start your business. What they're talking about is this business box, this whole compliance box. And what that does is it says, where do I plan to spend this money? Remember how we are all conduits of money flow. So if I give you a grant for $10,000, what bucket are you getting ready, or who are you passing that $10,000 on? It is not going to be for survival mode. It is not for your personal. It is for the business. And usually it hits in one of these buckets. So if you understand how the system works, then you understand how you have to play the game in such a way that you are willing to make certain changes, not being in this mindset that you need to just pass out money, but actually, how do you make money with the money that is given to you? So what is this business needing? How do I make change with a little disruption in my life? We're not coming big and bad with our hands on our hips saying, I got it all together because I have an LLC and a business name and maybe a business bank account. No, we're saying we need two things. revenue and processes. I told Miss Tate, I said, Miss Tate, now you said you want me to talk about the business box, but there's a companion which is inside the business box. This is where the jam, this is where the peanut butter and jam actually lives. Revenue and processes. What do you sell? And how will you deliver what you sold? Literally, that's all there is. And this is why most people can't forecast well, because they don't know what they're selling. Even if you say that you have, let's say you have a truck and you want to start transporting people, non-emergency, or home health, or, whatever that might be, you have to understand what part are they actually purchasing from you. What is it and how you plan to deliver that? That means payment processing systems. That means checks and balances. That means a checkoff list to say that for the trade of your dollar, this is what you actually get. So this is where the inside of the business box lives. Okay, now I'm gonna switch gears. What if you don't know what's going to go in your box? I need an idea for a business. The wrong thing to do is say, what can you sell? Now, what can I sell? And this happens to me. Uh, let's find out what people pay for that. People pay for that. Yes, they do, but there's an underlying reason for that. So I don't want you to go in and just start thinking about what you can sell. I want you to get into the whole thought process of, let's think you are at work. And remember that business box, right? Let's think about that being the suggestion box at work. What issue do you want to fix within the organization? Remember Steve Jobs? Remember Bill Gates? They both were walking and moving within organizations because, again, their network, they were able to do those industry tours, and they were able to look in and say, you know what? This could be better. This is where I work with the U.S. Patent Office, Patent and Trademark Office. And this is where you look and you scour through there. I kid you not. I just looked at a commercial, and I usually fast forward through those. But I looked at the commercial, and it was an underwear commercial for the men. And I was like, this is the craziest thing. Literally, the only thing they did to a pair of boxer briefs was add a strip of cloth inside of the boxer briefs. And then they magically said it was something new. One product innovated a little differently, and it becomes something new. That's what innovation is all about. You either making something, innovating something, or in making, helping make people more money, saving them time, or helping them to do what? Recruit talent, or being able not just to recruit talent, but upskill the talent that they have. So that is your job. How can you do that? Make, create, or innovate on what is already there. What's the difference between the entrepreneur and the entrepreneur? Again, I'm not saying business owner. Entrepreneur, entrepreneur. One is inside the company that has all of the foundation, maybe a good suggestion that the company can actually give you all of the resources in order to build on, or an entrepreneur, which is at their kitchen table or inside of their garage creating something and will ask for someone to help them build. Those are the two things: make, create, innovate. And the only thing that you should be thinking about is not how I'm going to make money, but how do I make someone else, get them to make more money, or save them some more time, or help them to upskill with their talent. And I told this to even to my children. My son is 34. He has an HVAC business right now. He was a combat medic in the military, has his family going. And I'm gonna tell you, they were raised on those three concepts. What can you do to help people make sales, gather people together, or rally up good talent? That's it. There's nothing else. And that's how you have the opportunity to scale, because there's more of them and less of you. So once you do this inside of that business box, you're going to now use this to create your development plan. This is who else, remember, this is in numbers, who else is going to be able to buy? Because remember, the suggestion box was only for one company, one entity, one person, because that's becomes the avatar or the prototype that we're solving the solution for. So who else am I selling to, and who else is going, and how else will they be able to help you make those dollars that you're going to need to create the margin? How will you deliver what you sold? And then how are you going to do that over and over and over? Does that mean, how do you acquire the extra customers? Are you going to buy them from another business? Are you going to, purchase the business as a whole? And like I said, or are you a person who can just gather up enough people in order for you to create that returned revenue over and over and over? And this is what we call the RP effect. This is how we determine, creating the revenue minus the process to deliver. It could or could not equal profit. With us, that's literally what we call the effect. What are you really focused on? Efficiency is a luxury already. That's just point blank, period. When you're starting out, it is a luxury. Remember, efficiency was at the top of that pyramid. So inside the business box, we have what we call the Partner Ready program. And this is where we compare you with either teaming agreements, joint ventures. You're going to be loaned, you and your 3 employees or less, or just by yourself as a solo entrepreneur, and be able to pair you with other companies so that it allows you to grow. This is strategic. It's not just I'm partnering with people to partner with them. No, it's going to help me get from one place to another. Just as if you were in a job, you know who you need to team up with. It is the same thing. So inside of this is where we help you develop that pitch, because what you're looking for is the unfair advantage, an advantage to scale up. So we're looking at cost structure and revenue streams. This is how we're actually going to produce what it is that we are making, creating, or innovating on. We're understanding licensing agreements, marketing the actual customers that we plan to pull in, the infrastructure that we need. This is how we decide on what that capital is going to look like. And that development plan has the market development, the sales and revenue, the processes, and then, of course, like I said, that strategic implementation and execution. If we think about this, think about your business as that suggestion box. What's inside? What is something that you are suggesting that everyone needs? We can put this process together in order for you to attract the capital that you need, because you can segment it out. Now, who are you going to tell it to? Who are you going to let know that you have such an amazing business or an amazing idea or an amazing solution? Well, 77% of that's family and friends. People have to invest in you first. And again, family could be business family. Friends could be those that you are acquainted with that believe in you enough that they know that they want to invest in you. So 77% of that actually happens. And I go back to my children. When my children were coming up, they all had ideas. And guess who invested in them? Mom, Yes, it happens. And that's the same thing. Your family, if they believe in the fact that you are going to do what you say you're going to do, return or not, they're going to help. But once you get into the area of using other people's money outside of those people that just are doing out of the kind of their heart, becomes you there needs to be a return. And if you use that mindset, the RP effect principles, then it'll allow you to talk to those and let them see where in fact they could invest in you and then get a return. Now, grants. Remember I told you about that $10,000 grant that we usually will give out? Guess what? Number one, most often that's marketing because we're trying to collect some data. Thank you. But then the other part of that is you heard about the SBA, DOD. They give out these SBIR grants, these innovation research grants. Now understand that is it is research and transfer on the bottom of there. It says that on purpose because remember I told you about being a conduit. Literally, that's what it is. That means I'm going to give you this grant dollar so that you can give it to the professors. Ain't that right, Ms. Tate? They're going to give it to the professors so that they can help you with the research to build the case that says that this now, as let's say it's technology, now it can be transferred into commercialization. You are in the best place being in a university, being able to work with professors, work with those researchers in order to prove your product is great. They then can apply for these grants with you. Because remember, I said partner ready. You need those that can help you move it further. I don't care what area you're in, people want to know who else is with you. Otherwise, you're going to be tapping into your 401k plans. It's going to be putting up your house. You're going to be making those risks alone. And doing it alone does not work in business. You have to literally strategically move in such a way that you can actually build your business and other people can spread the word about it. The more you help them make money, the more you make money. But if you're trying to just hoard and just, hand to mouth, it does not work. So whether that's with even private equity, and I say we're not a private equity firm, but we do invest in other businesses and other people. But again, when we do that, we stand you up because not just because we want to be kind. No, I want to get my money back plus some. And that's the exact same thing. All of your angel investors, remember I told you 50% close after that 5-year point, is because when I invest in you, even as an investor or an angel, guess what? I want my money back within 3 to 5 years. And then that means, again, you're either being sold or you're being moved over somewhere else. I know I talked a lot. I know I talk pretty fast. I kind of water hose people. I do know. But there's so much to know about the business. And without the industry, if you put in the chat and say, what am I selling? And then you thought in your mind to say, how am I going to deliver it? I promise you, this is going to be your recipe to win. Miss Tate, I hope I'm not overtime because I know I can.
Thank you very much. You gave us some food for thought here. And the first thing that you said is not what it is you have to sell, but think of what you have to offer as a solution to a problem.
Yes.
Because that's what people will buy. They're looking for a solution to a problem. The next thing that I want to highlight that you said is partner with others to help scale up your business. So you have to look strategically to other people to partner to scale up your business. And this is a very important thing that you shared is 77% of your initial funding will come from family and friends. And if I can just take a moment of personal privilege here to share, I used to be a media broker helping people buy and sell radio and TV stations. And the first thing that I would ask someone who was interested in buying a media outlet is If you walk into a room with all of your family and friends and pitch your idea to them, how much money would you come out of the room with? And that made them really think, because I would say that's going to be a lot of the money that you get in the beginning is the people who trust and believe in you. So you gave us some food for thought. Thank you so much for that. It was very helpful. And we're going to turn it over now to Mr. Wallace to share with us, where's the money? How do you get money for your business? Mr. Wallace, the floor is yours.
All right, so where's the money? Well, first of all, I would love to see everybody's beautiful face, if possible. Uh, because a lot of times when you're talking to people, if you can see the expressions on your face, if what you're saying is landing or not. So I love the beautiful face. First of all, I'm so happy to be with some very powerful women. So I have uh, two women in my household. My daughter, who's a sophomore over at Xavier over in New Orleans, and then of course my wife, who's a professor at UAB. So I'm just down the road on 20. So definitely come see me. But so no one else is gonna put themselves on the. All right. All right. Well, my goal today is to show you guys and ladies the money. So let me share my screen here. Uh, and all right. All right. So I have a powerful promise to you all. Okay. I'm at, Now this is comes from someone who sells money every day. Okay. I'm actually going to show you how to get access to capital without actually taking out a business loan or a personal loan. Okay. I'm also going to show you how to get access to capital without giving up ownership in your business, where you have to actually sell shares of your business. And I'm also going to show up how you get access to capital without putting up assets like your home. Okay. Now, now you're like, what the heck? What kind of financing can you get with that? It's like, whoa. That's a crazy promise. Okay. But the only way I'm gonna do that is if you truly want to, if everybody truly wants to learn this. So can I get some yeses in the chat? All right, so Cynthia already knows this stuff. Joycelyn already knows this stuff. We could just go home. All right, there we go. Now we're cooking. Now we're cooking like some grease here. All right. Okay. Now, once I reveal this to you, you're gonna be like, dang, why did I think of that? Okay. Because here's and not to get too spiritual, but anything that is intuitively, you know, then you know without a doubt that it's the right thing. Now, if it feels weird to you, then it's wrong. Okay, so let's get into this now. Now, Joycelyn talked about this. Cynthia talked about this. Anything worth anything takes takes some effort. Okay. Running a business takes some effort, right? And so what I'm gonna talk about to do this, and I can't remember who said this, but it's not always about resources, it's about resourcefulness. And that's what I'm gonna talk about, okay? And then people who realize that it takes effort to operate a successful business. If that is you, please put a yes in the chat. Help me out. Come on, help me out. Help me out. Okay. All right. All right. Okay. All right. Let's go. Let's go. Now, so now who's this for? If you're a business owner or want to be a business owner, maybe you're interested in being a real estate investor. Sometimes as a business owner, you can buy a building for your business. That's in essence being a real estate investor, entrepreneurs, people who want to take advantage of opportunities possibly that require funding. Maybe just have some questions about the market. So like the Federal Reserve met today and they actually reduced interest rates a quarter of a point. What does that mean? What does that mean to you? Well, if you're trying to take out a loan, that means that it's cheaper, maybe. But what does that mean holistically for you in your business? Who wants to take advantage of the opportunities that come their way? Maybe participate. So I can't remember exactly who said this, but someone said that when there are, we'll say, blood in the streets, meaning like things are going hell in the handbasket, that's when some of the top business owners are buying up everything. So, and I can't remember this, but most of the big businesses that have been started, like a Facebook or uh, maybe FedEx, which is headquartered in Memphis. Most of these big businesses that have done real with Amazon always started in some downturn, some kind of recession. So that's usually where the most of the big opportunities are. And if you're looking to buy or start a business, grow a business, again, buy real estate, or maybe just purchase equipment or attain contract, because I know Cynthia, she helps people obtain contracts. This will feed for you. Or of course, get access to capital right away. Now, this is what I believe. No matter where you stand, I believe there's a will, where there's a will, there's a way. All right. Now, in order to get the most out of not just this presentation, but any presentation, make sure you ask questions. Now, have you ever been in that situation where you're sitting there, you're like thinking of something, you're like, hey, I really want to answer that question. Go ahead and put it in the chat. I may not answer it right when I'm doing the presentation, but because I don't want you to lose that brilliant thought, I want you to go ahead and put it in the chat, and then we'll make sure we'll address it, and I'll answer that at the end. Now, really quickly, who's Dominic? Now, I used to be a painting contractor. So I went to University of Virginia uh, a long time ago. Had a track and field scholarship, but back then they didn't have like the NIL like they have now, where you can, get paid, not only get a scholarship, but also get paid for athletics. So I actually had to work. So even I had a work study job, but I also, and I'm sharing this just to give you some just context. So how I got in with some of the financing that I learned, how I learned about it. And I so during the summers, what I would do is I'll turn over apartments, painting them and that kind of stuff. So for the new students to come in, and for those been in college, our college friends were pretty terrible. But anyway, so I would paint and turn over apartments. And when I went back, and I'm originally from the Washington D.C. area, so I had I started coaching at my alma mater, high school, but I also had an opportunity to learn to start a business. So I would help, individuals like yourself, like maybe you have family members come over for the holidays or something like that, want to get the house ready, or maybe you're selling it. I worked a lot for realtors. But one of the challenges that I had was I was just like, I want to go for Doing work for individuals or houses was pretty cool, but I figured, well, if I can go and do bigger projects, I can make bigger money. And and I was thinking, well, how can I do that? So my thought was, well, what I could do is I could do bigger properties, like maybe multifamily or big commercial projects. Now, here's the crazy thing that I learned. So, uh, and I'll ask you. So, I would talk to these owners of these commercial properties, and then they would say, "Well, Dominic, unfortunately, that we're not the right person to talk to. You need to talk to the property management company." So I talked to the property management company. So, I'm a contractor, painting contractor, trying to get some work. And then they told me, "Well, Dominic, you're too small. You need to talk to the GC, the general contractor." And someone put this in the chat. What do you think was the first question I asked the GC? Anyone? Anybody? What was the first thing that I asked the GC? All right, come on, y'all are business owners. What's the most important thing in a business, operating a business? There you go. How you get paid? There you go. How do I get paid? Right? Because check this out. Normally, what I would do is I would go, if I work with a homeowner, um, you know, I get a check or whatever at the end of that job. But unfortunately, that's not how the commercial world works, right? So remember now, you have all these layers. Uh, you got the owner, you got the property management company, and then you got the GC. So I'm saying, how do I get paid? And what they told me was, Dominic, we'll pay you when we get paid. But make sure you have your invoice by the 20th of the month. And if you don't have the invoicing by the 20th of the month, you have to work 30 days after that. And what do you think I said? Are you crazy? Are you crazy? I'm like, all right, I already painted, so I had to pay for all this paint. All right. I had to pay my labor, right? Uh, I had to figure out how to do the job. So you have my ingenuity and all in this job, and you're telling me the way to get paid. So, and I told him, I was like, you're asking me to finance you. That's what you're asking me to do, because I'm waiting to get paid, right? When you send the invoice. So I said, well, so I'm like, so unfortunately, I went to the local bank, and they told me, Dominic, we can't fund you. It was like, and I'm like, what's going on? Too new and all this kind of stuff. That's why what Cynthia was saying about, other ways to bring funds together. But this is what I did. I talked with someone like myself, a company that said, well, Dominic, as long as you have was a credit-worthy invoice, we'll front you cash on this invoice, meaning that instead of you waiting 30, 45, 60 days, we'll front you the cash. And I was like, whoa, that was the craziest thing. Because for me, I was just like, okay, the more jobs I can get, the more access to capital I could get. I could just run that money back. And then over time, I could stack those funds and then not need that company anymore, because I can in essence just front the fund myself. All right. So that was my so the short story is, after learning about that, I told all my other contracting buddies about it. The finance company was like, Dominic, you're sending us so many referrals. We're going to pay you a referral fee. And I was like, whoa. And then they started paying me so much in referral fees that I'm like, whoa, I'm making more money for referral fees in my contracting business. I'm in the wrong business. But I said, well, check this out. I can not one reason why we go into business is because we want to sustain ourselves and our family, but we also want to build bricks, right? We want to help we want to help beyond ourselves. The one cool thing about entrepreneurship and business ownership is we are providing we take on problems of other people in order uh to be an impact. So I thought the same thing. Instead of being on a hot ladder all day, I'm like, I could help more businesses. Okay. All right. Why did I tell you all this? All right. So here's some of the ratings and stuff where we talked about um who is Dominic and Wallace Capital Funding, and I want to talk a bit about. So we're a member of this organization called the Small Business Financial Exchange, and this is and I'm going to go and show you why this is so important and talk a little bit about this. So this is what the website looks like now. You can just go to sbfe.org. Anybody ever seen this website by any chance? So the Small Business Financial Exchange, it's just a trade association of, it says some of the top 10 commercial banks, as well as some small business credit associations. What we do is we report the credit history to the Small Business Financial Exchange, and then the Small Business Financial Exchange reports that to the business credit bureaus. Now, a lot of you probably are heard of Experian and Equifax, but the largest business credit bureau in the world is Dun& Bradstreet, and then there's Nexus, and then there's a newer one, Blue Cognition, and then we report the credit history here, and then what happens is there we're able to see. So here we are between Truist and Wells Fargo, and so when I report the credit history to the Small Business Financial Exchange, the other financial institutions like American Express, Bank of America, Capital One can actually see that credit history. So a lot of times we'll incubate companies. All right, that's great, Dominic. But help me. You promised me. It was like, how do I get access to capital without taking out a business loan, giving up ownership of my business, or putting up assets like my home? All right. So, and Miss Tate asked me to cover the different ways to finance a business, and I'm gonna put an example, and I'm gonna put the link to this article that you can pull off later. There's a 5 ways to finance a business, and I'm gonna illustrate this by an example. Okay, so let's just say, for example, and most of you all in the Atlanta area, correct? So let's just say that you have a contracting company and you're providing, let's say that service is with the city of Atlanta, um, and you've been contracted your company for various goods and services. I'm actually reading from the article here. The let's say that contract with your organization is worth $250,000, $250,000. Now, you recently completed a contract with, let's say, the city of Decatur, right? That's a local municipality near you guys, right? And you're waiting to get paid on that contract. That's $150,000. Okay. So you got the contract with City of Atlanta for 250,000, and then you got the you're waiting for payment with the city of Decatur for 150,000. Now there's 5 ways that you can finance that contract. Okay, so there's 5 ways. All right, the first way that Cynthia and talked about before is you can use your own cash, or the existing cash flow of your business. Maybe you have other contracts besides this City of Decatur coming in. And the reason why I say that's one way of finance, or maybe friends and family, but one reason I say that's one way of financing your business, because in economics, if anybody's ever taken economics class, they say there's an opportunity cost associated with using your own cash, meaning that you can't use it for other things. You can't use it for investments or other things to build or get a return on your investment on that money. Because anytime you use your own cash, and make sure you get a good accountant that does it for you. Before I forget this, not only you want a good accountant that'll help you do income statement, a balance sheet, but also a statement of cash flows. That's where your cash, your inflows of your cash going in, and make sure because that will show you, because that what happened to me is I didn't have cash on hand to continue to operate my business. That's typically so number one is cash or cash flow. Okay. And I'll give you this article that you can pull from it. All right, number two. Anyone want to guess? So number two is just regular debt. Okay. Now there's two typically types of loans and debt. Is either a term loan or a revolving loan or a line of credit. So on the personal side, the easiest way to conceptualize that is like if you have a car note, that's a term loan. Or you have a furniture loan, that's a term loan. If you have a credit card, that's revolving credit, similar to a line of credit, meaning that you only pay on it for what you actually pull out, pull out from it. Okay. So number one, cash flow. Number two, debt and yeah, debt financing or traditional business loan. All right, number three, and Cynthia touched on this, equity financing. Okay. Now, what equity financing is, it's just easy to conceptualize this. So, like downtown, you got Coca-Cola, right? Downtown Atlanta. If you buy stock in Coca-Cola, you are owning a piece of that company. You're giving them money in exchange for ownership of that company. Now, hopefully, the goal is the value of that company goes up. So if you ever wanted to sell your ownership in that, it'll go up. But that's the same way that if you go on like Shark Tank or something like that, where you position your business you for them to get money in exchange for a future return, right? All right, so you got cash flow, number one, got debt financing, number two, and number three, you have equity financing. Okay. All right, number four. Anybody can guess what number four is? And I talked a little bit about it earlier. This is how I learned about financing in the beginning. And Cynthia laughing at me. This is how I learned about finance. It's called asset-based financing. Okay. Now, in that bucket of asset-based financing, one of it is account receivable financing or factoring. That's what I describe with it. So, like for example, we had a client. She was doing a lot of jobs with the city of Birmingham, and she called me and she's like, Dominic, help. And I was like, well, what? She was like, well, the city said they're paying me in 10 business days, but now it's taking 30, 45, 60 days. I got this building downtown. I got all these materials and supplies. And what she does is if you've ever been at the bus stop, they'll have this. Oh, how am I doing on time? But you have this bus stop, and where they'll do this plastic metal thing that you stand under. So she designed those and manufactures those, and so the city was just taking a long time to get her paid. And she was like, "Well, Dominic, can you help me out? I need some kind of line of credit. More importantly, I need to pay my employees because if I don't, they're going to walk off the job. And I'll say, well, yeah. I'll say, well, yeah, I'll finance you. I'll front you the cash. Why did I say that I would front her the cash? Because I knew the city was going to pay. They were going to pay slow, but they were eventually going to pay. So I used the credit worthiness of her customer to approve her for financing. Okay, so that's account receivable financing or factoring. All right, there's another one that's kind of contingent with this one. Is called purchase order funding. So I was about a month and a half ago. I was in Las Vegas at this conference called the Co-Create, where if anybody ever heard of what's called Alibaba, and Alibaba procures, like manufacturers from all over the country. And what they did, they had a really interesting product. It's called a Rako. It's like a rake and a hoe all in one. And crazy thing too. You also put a bottle opener on it. But anyway, he had a purchase order with Tractor Supply Company. If you know a Tractor Supply Company, similar to Home Depot, but it's a smaller version of it. It's all around the country. And with that purchase order, he's like, I got $750,000 worth of purchase orders that they say they'll buy my product, but I need to front the cash. His manufacturer is in China. I need to front the cash to my manufacturer in China, and then so that I can get the goods. His company's in Fresno, so to get it once a product gets in Fresno in my warehouse, Tractor Supply Company will pick it up. But here's the problem: I I need money to pay the manufacturer. Plus, Tractor Supply Company says they're giving me 90 days, net 90 terms. And unfortunately, when you're a startup, a lot of these big companies to try you out, they'll 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 make these crazy net turns because they want to make sure that you're a good supplier. But anyway, so because Tractor Supply is a billion-dollar company, we checked out their supplier. We felt comfortable with the supplier. We arranged funding to pay the manufacturer and then to front the cash for the purchase order. And then once those funds got invoiced, when they picked up the goods, then we advanced on the invoice. All right. So the other thing in there is like equipment leasing. The reason I say equipment leasing is under that bucket because it's an off balance sheet type of financing where you don't you don't just like if you lease a vehicle from the car dealership, you don't own it until after you decide to pay for it or the terms of after the lease. And then there's usually like what's called a put lease or something like that, or dollar buyout lease, where you can own the equipment at the end of the lease, but benefit from not having it on your balance sheet, and you can write off all the expenses on your income statement because they're expenses, not a liability during the terms of the lease. But yeah, so those are the three common things. All right. Now, the last thing. All right. The fifth one. Anybody can guess. Okay. Anybody guess? What is the last type of financing? The last type of financing. All right. Now, as a loan, well, we talked a bit about that for number two, right? Number two, that's debt. That's debt financing. Any other good guesses? Gift. Okay. All right. Well, I was kind of putting that in the bucket of kind of self-financing cash or cash flow or grant. I was kind of putting that in there. But all right, it is it is vendor credit or business credit. Okay, vendor credit. All right. Now, why did I front the cash for the lady for her business with the city of Birmingham? Because I knew the credit worthiness, the city of Birmingham was good. Why did we front cash for Tractor Supply? because we knew Tractor Supply Company was good for it. Check this out. You remember in the beginning how I learned about financing, how the GC was stringing me out, right? I had the paint, I had the supplies, I paid for all this stuff ahead of time, and then they were asking me to finance them. Why can't you do that too? Think about it. So you remember now, you got this contract. You got this contract for the city worth the city of Atlanta for $250,000, even though you're waiting from Decatur for $150,000. What if what you're providing to the city of Atlanta is some kind of goods that you can get from someone else? You could say, hey, listen, I got this contract with the city. Give me terms. Give me terms. I'm gonna I'm gonna pay you, right? All you have to do, and check this out. If you don't want to give me the goods and services, you can deliver it directly to the city of Atlanta. I'll invoice you, and then once they pay me, I'll pay you. Check this out. Is that you don't have to use your own cash. Number one, you don't have to take out a loan. Number two, you don't have to give up equity in your company. Number three, you don't have to use me to front you the cash on the invoice. Number four, remember what I talk about being instead of resources, resourcefulness? Now, I know y'all some smart ladies. Y'all could probably think of other ways, right? But that's how it works. Now, how I learned this is because what ended up happening was I had clients who we were fronting cash for payroll, right? So you remember we report credit history to the Small Business Financial Exchange, and then what happens is then that credit history gets reported here, and then us as well as other vendors and lenders and everything can see this information. And so and what was happening was they were asking me not only for money for payroll, but they were asking me, I need money for materials. And I was like, well, dang, you're asking me for a lot of money. That was getting more riskier. What if I could help you, because I know how to check the credit worthiness of other companies. What if I show you how to build the credit worthiness of your company so you can show your business credit report to whoever, a large supplier, and then you can get terms without needing additional cash from me? You could do that on relationships in the beginning, just to kind of get things started, but then over time. Now, the reason why this business credit thing is so important, and I'll do this, and then I'll jump off. The Here's this SBA's website, the Exchange, Small Business Administration's website, right? The SBA, which you're probably familiar with it. All right. I don't know if you know this, but the SBA and all the lenders use what's called an SBSS score. And here's what it says. It's a combination of consumer credit data, small business bureau data, borrowers financial and application data. The minimum credit score on the lower end risk profile must be adjusted down from time to time. All right. So the minimum score is 165. And basically what that is, it's just a combination, it's just a composite of your business credit score and your personal score. So what that means is the average small business, I mean, I talked to 100-old company, I literally in Birmingham, that was like 100 years old. They didn't have a business credit score. They didn't build it. If they had just put a few trade lines on there, if you have some business credit and good personal credit, that composite score will go up. All right. Well, let me wrap this up here. Um, the Now that article that I mentioned And I'll put it here. I'll put it in the chat with the 5 ways to build the 5 ways to fund a business. So it'll be here. I'm gonna put it right in the chat where you can pull from this. Here we go. Oops, that's the wrong thing here. All right, but one other thing while I'm pulling this off from the slide is uh I I host a YouTube channel, so you can just type the company in YouTube, Wallace Capital Funding, and I do like free videos and that kind of stuff on this kind of stuff all the time. And I just put the article in the chat. Oh, Brittany said smart. Yes, just being smart and resourceful. Yeah, definitely. Um, so that's where you can get the article. Also, I'm hosting a live masterclass. Like if you're like, hey, I want more on this, how to get business credit, how it works. You can come to the masterclass. I'll just put that in the chat. And then, of course, if you just like, hey, Dominic, I'd love to talk to you or get all your information. If you just text the word capital to 321-421-5213, you put capital 321-421-5213 where on my screen. That you'll have all my information. You'll have my YouTube channel, LinkedIn thing, uh every you have all my as the young people say, you have all my digits. But any questions?
Well, we're going to open it up. Thank you so much, Dominic. You gave us a wealth of information, and I just want to kind of highlight some of the things that you said. And the first thing you said is it's not about your resources; it's about being resourceful. And um, you talked about the 5 ways to finance to get capital. Well, first of all, we always know it's your money, your own personal money, and your money from family and friends. Debt capital, which is it can be a loan or a bank loan or a line of credit. Equity capital, in which they own a piece of your business in exchange for giving you the money. And then you talked about the asset-based financing and the business and the credit and the vendor and business-based credit based on the contracts that you already have, or maybe the promises to sell or invoices that you have. So thank you so much for that. We're going to open it up right now for any questions from the audience. Feel free to open your mics and ask your question.
Come on now. I know I didn't do that good. Come on, do that well. Come on.
Well, if no one has a question, I want to ask a question really quickly. And this question is to Dominic. Now, if I'm starting out as a business and I don't have any contracts already, or maybe I'm selling things by the unit, and maybe I'm selling them online. How could the last method that you show, how could I utilize my resourcefulness to get money for my business without getting a loan or getting equity financing?
All right, yeah.
Using the last method that you mentioned, it was the vendor and business credits. If I'm
Yeah,
just starting out, and let's just say I'm selling, I don't know, let's just say body lotion. How would I do that if I'm just starting out a business?
Okay. So so I'm talking to one of my clients right now. He has a relationship. It is this new product called Smooth Slide Wax. It's like a product where you can it's kind of like a alternative to WT-40. The one of the one of the relationships that he was saying, he was like, hey, even though I don't have the product up front in my hand, the person that wants to make money by making this product has some of it in stock, or they have it, uh, or they have bits and pieces of it. All you have to do is just contract with them. You could you could sell the product in advance before you have it. A lot of times when people will do with crowdfunding campaigns on like Kickstarter and some of these other places, what they're doing is they're selling the product and ahead of having it actually in stock. So you could probably get the money ahead of time once you have the cash, and then just use that funds to pay for the product or the lotion, or just make a relationship with the manufacturer of the lotion or someone maybe that has it in stock. You know, that's what I was just talking about, just being resourceful about how you do things. Another quick story. I can't remember who said this, but there was this guy in believe it in China that wanted to a different situation, but he didn't have much cash to his name. Uh, he had this great idea. He wanted to create this different type of motorcycle. And so he because he had the engineering background, he kind of knew how to do it. And he was coming to someone like myself, and he was like, "Hey, I need about like $5 million to do this, to build out my manufacturing and create all these molds and do all these things so that I can sell my product." And then so the guy was just like, "Well, there's another way to do this. You know, there's did you know that there's other manufacturers out there that probably don't that has the capacity, and they're not maximizing their capacity? And what you could do is you could just go around the, and they already have the sales force, meaning they have sales force to other, and this other manufacturer was producing like some other like lawnmowers or something like that. But they already had the manufacturer facility for this. And they had, was it two like full-time staff, but they weren't maximizing their staff. So in essence, they were kind of losing money in a sense. So they partnered together, and then the next year they made like, was it like $10 million together just in one year, because he had the idea and they had the resources. So that's
Wonderful.
basically what I'm saying. Yeah. And I think Felicia has her
Wonderful.
hand up.
Uh, yes, I wanted to ask, did you have anything to add to that question, Ms. Rhodes, Cynthia? Oh,
I'll,
I thought maybe you had something to add.
yeah,
Okay.
he created the story for it, but those are two prime examples. Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry. You had your hand up. Where did your hand go?
I'm
Felicia.
still
Go.
here. I just raised it,
Okay.
lowered it.
Okay. Go ahead and ask your
Um,
question. And then after you ask your question, we do want to get the questions from the chat that we're already in. Go ahead, Felicia.
Okay. Thank you again. Great information. I think you mentioned factoring, or
Mhm.
I'm not sure if that was one of the items on the list, but what exactly is factoring, or was that part of ways to use other people's money?
Well, definitely that's ways to use other people's money, right? Because if you're coming to me, that's one of the things we do. We also fund real estate. But if let's just say you have a contract, like I think like the example I was just saying, you had a contract with this the city of Atlanta, and then you're waiting to get paid. So $150,000 from the city of Decatur, right? City of Decatur owes you $100,000. That's an IOU. You sent them IOU in the form of what's called an invoice, and then because once at the time they collect an invoice and they accept an invoice, it becomes what's called accounts receivable, money that's owed to you on your balance sheet. So like on a balance sheet, it's similar to what's like a personal financial statement. You have your cash, and then you have your IOUs, which are account receivable. And this is how I got into the business. This is how I learned about financing. I had IOUs from other people, but I had bills to pay. So I said, hey, this IOU is worth a lot of money, right? It's in this case, it's worth $150,000. Can you give me cash on this now so that I can operate my business? I can make payroll, I can pay materials, staff, my rent, whatever it is, and then you use this cash to go on your merry way so you can go and do other things with it. So that's basically factoring, or another term, account receivable financing. Hope that answers
Okay,
your
very
question.
quickly.
Yeah, thank
Oh,
you.
I'm sorry. Very quickly, because we're running out of time, so I'm going to ask that you keep your just briefly answer these questions as succinctly as you can.
Okay.
There was one question in the chat about one person said that it says, I've started my LLC in 2020. I've done a couple of things with it. However, I'd like to do more and actually start to generate income for it, but I just don't know how. What is the first thing I need to know about how to generate stable income for my business? I think you may have answered those things in your presentations. These were some questions that were put in the beginning. But if you can just very quickly, 30 seconds between the two of you, answer that, because at the end, we would like for everyone that's on, our participants, to participate in a survey. So we want to have time for that. So briefly, if you could answer that question. Cynthia, we'll start with you.
Hopefully this person isn't on. I'm a pretty straightforward person. What are you selling? Because remember, the LLC is not the actual business. It is just a structure. So knowing what you sell, and then continuously doing that versus hustling, there's a difference.
Okay, very briefly, Dominic.
Yeah, I mean, just like Cynthia earlier said, you just solve a problem, hopefully for someone who has a lot of money and has a lot of pain for that problem that needs to be solved. They'll pay you quickly for that problem. That's it.
Okay.
Just
Okay, and the last question that was in the chat is interested in learning how to leverage AI as a small business to streamline operations and in the proposal process. That question was from Angelique. But Angelique, I will tell you, we are having a session that is going to specifically deal with that on November 22nd. And it's how to use AI for your business. So make sure you join us for that session, because that session is completely devoted to how to use AI for your business. But Cynthia or Dominique, if you have anything quickly that you can that you can answer that question.
Interestingly enough, like I said, the inside of a business, or its processes and integrations, we actually used to build a lot of different platforms on the inside of businesses. But now we use AI to build those same platforms and workflows within each of the organizations that we work with. And you can actually do those same things, but then you still have to build like the business case around it. So it goes back to, what is it that you actually sell? What is the efficiency that you're trying to create? And the first thing, know the workflow before you start to deploy AI.
yeah.
Dominique.
Well, yeah, I use AI every day.
Every
So I use AI to learn AI. Seriously, I just ask, I have a problem. The better your question, the better the question, the better the answer, right? Was it garbage in, garbage out? with it. So if you asked AI and you, it's like, for example, like before I have my attorney spend a whole lot of time on a document, I'll put in AI and say, act like an attorney and blah 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 blah. And then I have it write it, and then I send it to my attorney for them to read it.
So prompt engineering and context engineering, those are the two areas. Understanding your business and your workflow. Please do that.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to thank both of you so much, Cynthia Rose Porter and Dominique Wallace, for sharing all of your expertise with us this evening. And before you go, I would like to put up a survey for you to take. And I'm launching the survey now with all of the questions. So if you could please answer those questions very quickly. Can you let me know in the chat if you see, there's 5 questions. Please let me know in the chat if you see the questions. Okay. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much again. Cynthia Rose Porter from the Rose Porter Group, Dominique Wallace from, excuse me, I'm sorry, Dominique Wallace, the CEO of Wallace Capital Funding. Thank you so much for everything. Thank you all for. We will see you next week for our next session. We'll be talking about business taxes and how to do financial projections. Thank you so much and have a great evening.